What will happen when a man ventures into the forest for adventure and to enjoy nature? He stumbles upon a wild horse trapped in thick mud, struggling to escape. Determined to help, he calls his family for support. Together, they face a challenging rescue. Just when they think it's all over, the horse surprises everyone with an unbelievable act that leaves them all in awe. Once upon a time, in the beautiful and wild lands of Alberta, Canada, a strong and free wild horse lived happily. It would run through open fields and tall forests, enjoying the peaceful days. Life was an exciting adventure as the horse galloped under the bright sun, feeling the wind through its mane. But one day, everything took a sudden turn. Dark clouds filled the sky, and heavy rain fell for days, turning the ground into thick, dangerous mud. One afternoon, as the horse ran along the edge of the forest, it didn't notice the large mud pit hidden ahead. In no time, the horse was stuck. Its legs were trapped in the thick mud, and though it tried to pull itself free, it only sank deeper. Panic filled the horse's mind as it fought to escape. Its powerful front legs gripped the ground, but the sticky mud pulled its back legs further down. The harder it tried, the worse it became. The horse struggled with all its might, but the mud held on tightly, refusing to let go. The wild horse found itself in a situation it couldn't escape easily, with no help in sight. Hours passed, and the horse grew weaker. It kept trying to free itself, pulling with all its might, but each time the mud held on tighter. Every effort left the horse more exhausted. Soon, its strong body, once full of life, barely moved. Heavy breaths came from the tired animal, showing just how much strength it had lost. Alone in the wild, with no humans nearby, it seemed like the horse had no chance of escaping. As night started to fall, the situation looked hopeless, and the horse's future seemed dark. But fate had other plans waiting for the struggling horse. Just as hope seemed lost, a figure appeared at the edge of the forest. It was Damien, a local farmer who lived nearby. He owned a small farm with horses of his own and often walked through the woods, searching for trees he could cut for firewood. On this day, as he strolled through the forest, he heard a faint, strange sound. It was soft, but something about it seemed desperate. Curious, he followed the sound, weaving through the trees until he saw it. A horse, struggling helplessly in the mud. At first, Damien didn't understand what he was seeing. The horse was moving, but it was stuck in the thick mud. It took a few seconds for Damien to realize how serious the situation was. The horse was trapped, and if he didn't do something quickly, it might not make it. His heart pounded as he knew time was running out. He couldn't just leave the poor creature there. Damien decided, without hesitation, that he had to try and save the horse before it was too late. Damien rushed to the scene. He quickly assessed the situation and knew time was running out. Without wasting a second, he ran back to his wagon to grab a rope, hoping it would be enough to pull the horse free. But there was a big problem. The horse was far too heavy for one person to move. No matter how hard Damien pulled, the horse didn't budge. Its legs were trapped deep in the thick mud, and his strength alone wasn't enough to save it. Realizing he couldn't do this on his own, Damien thought fast. He fed the horse some food from his wagon and picked fresh grass to calm it down. He gently patted the horse, reassuring it that help was coming. Without delay, Damien jumped into his truck and raced to town, knowing he needed help and fast. After a long 45-minute drive, Damien returned with backup. His family had come along to help. They brought 2 powerful all-terrain vehicles, hoping they could use the extra strength to pull the horse out. When they got back, the horse was still stuck, but remained calm, as if it sensed that rescue had finally arrived. Damien knew they were ready to begin the rescue. The team quickly sprang into action, determined to save the horse. They came up with a plan to use strong ratchet straps and attach them carefully to the horse's body. The idea was to hook the straps to the SUVs and slowly pull the horse out of the mud. It was a risky move, and no one knew if it would work. But with no other options left, they knew this was the horse's last chance. With great care, they wrapped the straps around the horse, making sure not to hurt it. The horse, now weak and exhausted, didn't resist. It seemed to understand that these people were there to help. Once everything was ready, Damien and his family got into the SUVs and began to pull. At first, they went slowly, testing the ropes and watching the horse for any movement. Then, as the horse began to shift, they pulled harder. There were tense moments when the horse slipped back into the mud, making everyone hold their breath. But the team didn't give up. They adjusted the straps, with Damien ensuring everything was secure, especially around the horse's back legs, which were still stuck. Feeling the help, the horse began to push with all its might. Little by little, the horse rose, inching its way out of the mud towards safety. The team cheered when they saw the horse start to move, but they knew the battle wasn't over yet. The mud clung tightly to the horse, and it took several tries to set it free. Damien's heart raced as he watched the horse struggle. With each pull of the SUVs, they were getting closer to success. Finally, after what felt like forever, the horse's body broke free from the thick mud. With one last powerful push, the horse pulled itself out completely. It stood on solid ground, covered in mud, but free at last. The tired animal stood there, dripping wet and panting heavily, but alive. Damien and his family quickly untied the straps and began to clean the mud off the horse. They couldn't believe their eyes. After hours of effort, the wild horse was finally safe. The group cheered loudly, feeling relieved and proud that their hard work had paid off. But what happened next took everyone by surprise, leaving them in awe of what the horse would do after its daring escape. As the family celebrated, the horse turned and slowly walked toward Damien. It lowered its big head and looked straight into his eyes. In a surprising moment, the horse leaned forward, gently pressing its nose against Damien's chest, almost as if to say, "Thank you." This magical moment took everyone's breath away. Damien, a tough farmer who rarely showed his feelings, felt his heart swell with pride. He reached out and stroked the horse's soft nose, tears welling up in his eyes. It was as if a special bond had formed between them in that quiet moment, a connection beyond words. Damien stood there, feeling amazed by what had just happened. He had saved a life, and now the horse was showing gratitude that was hard to express. It was a memory he would treasure forever, one that would stay with him throughout his life. As the sun began to set, casting a warm glow through the trees, the horse slowly turned and walked away, back into the wild where it belonged. Damien watched it go, feeling a mix of joy and sadness. He knew they had shared something truly extraordinary that day, a moment of kindness and connection that would remain in his heart forever. That's all for today. Now it's your turn to share your thoughts about this story. What's the next story you'd like to know? Let us know in the comment section below. And be sure to subscribe so you won't miss any of these amazing videos on the Wild Wonder.